Today's episode is brought to you by Mistplay. More about them later on in the video. Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to Skill Tree, where we learn how to do just about everything. Okay, I have actually a really exciting episode for you today. First and foremost, I love the thing I make in this episode. This is one of those ones that I'm like, oh, you'll see, I think you're gonna like it too. I'm very excited about it. But the other thing I really like about this episode is what the inspiration for it was. So as those who follow the show know, we've been working with Snyder a lot. And if you are familiar with Snyder, you can click on the link down in the description below. But in a nutshell, they sell all kind of medieval costuming and things you bring to LARPs. And they throw the largest LARP in the world, Conquest, as well as a whole bunch of other ones. Anyways, they have a partnership with Wizards of the Coast to make these bad boys. This is their Call to Arms collection, and all of the outfits in that collection are modeled after the classes from D&D. So because we've been working so closely with them, they've actually invited us to the New York Comic-Con. But that's not all. We get to be in costume in the new line of the New York Comic-Con. I'm so excited. I'm going to be wearing the costume associated with the Bard. But my specific character that I'm gonna be playing at Comic-Con, he doesn't sing or play an instrument really. Specifically, he's gonna be a storyteller, somebody who makes the magic by the written word. As such, I wanted to make a self-contained little notebook bard desk kind of thing. Basically, I wanted to hold not only the notebook that my character will write in, but all of the tools of the trade one would need, like quills and ink. All of that, and because it is a D&D themed thing, I wanted to be able to take it out really fast and use it. Because, that's their weapon of choice. That's what they use to cast their magic. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna make a little custom scribe kit out of leather and wood, and it's gonna be great. All right, so without much further ado, let's jump right into it and level up this skill. Okay, so first things first, I really want to show you what the inspiration for this thing is. Specifically, the costume I'm gonna be wearing from Snyder. They were nice enough to send me these 2 boxes of goodies, and can we just take a moment and look at how dope these boxes are? My day job is in marketing, and I really love a nice package. There's no way that's not gonna become a soundbite. But I stand by it. It's so sick. And everything came out individually wrapped up. Honestly, it feels really special. The whole bard kit came with a doublet, a nice red shirt, some pants, these really nice leather gaiters, a sweet pouch with a nice little D&D detail on it, and this really nice belt also with some D&D detail on it. And trying it on, I honestly really love this outfit. I didn't think I'd be one for the puffy sleeve action, but it's really kind of cool. Not only that, but if you don't like it, you can kind of take the sleeve off, so it's just the vest. Putting this on, I straight up felt like Yesker from The Witcher. I felt kind of suave and bardy, I guess. And look at those gaiters. I really, really like those. They just kind of take whatever you're wearing and make them look like a boot, which is great. But as I said, that did leave me with a little bit of a conundrum, because I'm gonna be playing a bard. I thought maybe I'd bring a little guitar, like a ukulele or something, I don't know. But then I realized a bard is just anybody who entertains, anybody who kind of will cater to the crowd. And though I may not be much of a musician, I can tell one hell of a story. I mean, a lot of people call it lies, but same. Anyways, I thought it would be a cool concept if my bard did his magic through storytelling, collecting stories. So with the general kind of color palette that I had going on there, especially with the black trim and the nice black pouch, I figured I would make another kind of belt pouch to hold all of my instruments of barddom. Okay, so now for the tools of the trade. Starting with this here notebook, that of course has that leather vibe I dig, and a tree. I mean, you can't go wrong. Then basically my bard's magical focus, this Quill pen. I just picked this bad boy up in a kit from Amazon, and it was actually really cheap. I'll leave a link in the description below. But it also came with all of these extra nibs to go on it, as well as this inkwell here. Now for this project, I'm gonna be using this 6-ounce veg tan leather. And it's cut to a strip 10 inches wide and long enough to wrap around a notebook a couple of times. I'm not picturing carrying around a big book, and if I am, I'm not gonna carry it on my hip. It's gonna take up a lot of space while you're walking around. 10 inches still felt big enough where I can keep a sizable notebook, but small enough that it didn't get in my way. All right, so to first measure this thing out, I laid my notebook down in the middle and then folded up one end, trying to line it up so it just kind of went past the notebook. So my idea here is to have the leather kind of form a little pouch, right? But in between the front of that pouch and where the actual notebook is gonna live, I wanted to put something to mount the quill and all the nubbins and the ink onto. To that end, I cut this little piece of plywood here at 10 by 7 inches. This way it'll fit right in that fold and still be big enough to hold my quill and all of the little things that go along with it. Alright, so I want this thing to kind of be an open pouch that I can just kind of reach into at a moment's notice and grab it out. But I also wanted it to like hook onto my belt somehow. So to make this happen, I positioned the bottom where it will go, and then folded that top over and marked it out in line with where the top edge of the bottom panel will be. Then I cut off all that excess. This gives me a loop of leather that I'm gonna be able to like thread a belt through. Though we don't want it to be like that bulky, like a huge swath of leather there. So to make it a little more refined, I first bend it back over to where it'll go, just so I can mark the other side for measurement purposes. Then I just used a bowl to mark off a rounded shape, leaving about an inch from the end and that line I just drew. Once cut out, it leaves me with this oblong kind of circle here, and allows me to fold that whole section over, now just leaving me with those 2 loops in an open area in the middle. Not too unlike the pouch here that's available in the Call to Arms kit. This just makes the whole thing a lot more lightweight and easy to carry around. Alright, so with that body all cut out, I did the usual things of trimming up the edges here, making sure they're all rounded off and slicked. Oh, real quick, if you're new to leather crafting and you're here and you're not sure about like how to treat the edges of things or whatever, check out this playlist I have here that covers a lot of that. Okay, so next I just dyed the whole thing a USMC black, again to just kind of go along with the kit that I'm already going to be wearing. And then for the wood on the inside, I made that kind of a nice mahogany brown, just to make it look a little more classy and refined, like it's a hard wood of some sort. Alright, so you're gonna see it as we go, but to connect everything together, like that little wooden panel and the little straps to close everything, I just cut some strips of leather, 2 of them 4 inches long, 2 of them 5 inches long, and both sets about an inch wide. I also forgot to record it, but I cut a whole bunch of just various size strips at about 1/2 of an inch wide, just to make some little loops later on to actually like rest stuff into it. You'll see what I mean. Now in my head, I figured he's gonna be part of some kind of bardic college of some sort. As such, I wanted to come up with some sort of insignia that would fit that vibe. With a little help from Midjourney, I was able to come up with this fancy little quill design that I had my laser engraver cut. Of course, the laser engraver is just to save time. If you're not sure how to put images on leather, I just did a video on that, which you can check out right here. All these little straps and the insignia, I just colored with this saddle tan dye. Okay, those are all the bits and pieces done. Now it's time to actually assemble this thing. You're gonna love how cool this is. Before we do that, I just want to mention again that I'm gonna be traveling for the next couple of weeks. We should still be able to get episodes out to you. I've got like a backlog, so that shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I'm gonna be spending a lot of time in a hotel room playing mobile games. And thanks to today's sponsor, Mistplay. All that mobile game playing is gonna earn me some gift cards. If you don't know what Mistplay is, Mistplay offers a huge catalog of mobile games, including casual games, puzzle games, action games, you name it, they have it. But here's the catch.
As you play, you rack up points you can redeem for gift cards.
And they're gift cards from a whole bunch of different sources like Amazon, Walmart, straight up just Visa cards, Xbox. Now you're taking something that is just fun and making it work for you, which is fantastic. So both my wife and I have been using it. We like to test stuff out before we push it on the channel. And actually it's been really cool. Sitting and playing mobile games at the end of the night is kind of how we unwind. So we'd be doing it anyways, but now we actually earn gift cards while we do it. I think that's pretty neat. Now if you want to give this a try, click the link in the description below and be sure to use my code SKILLTREE30 to get 30 free points to put towards redeeming your first gift card. And if you give it a go, let me know in the comment section below. Wow, that all rhymed really good. Maybe I am a bard. All right, let's put this thing together. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to do was put my little insignia right there on the front. To do that, I just kind of put it in place where I thought it would go, and I used an awl to trace all around it. This leaves me with an exact little outline of where it needs to sit. I also scratched up all inside of that marking, so that my glue would have something extra to hold on to. Then slathered all inside of it with a contact adhesive. After doing that to the back of the insignia and waiting the required 15 minutes, I was able to carefully stick it in place right where I wanted it. Okay, now for the board, which is really the magic part here. So I want part of the connection of it to be this little crisscross of lacing on the sides holding the board and the leather kind of together and giving me the possibility to either tighten it down for a smaller book or make it a lot wider for a larger book. So in order to facilitate that, I wanted to drill holes down the side of the board. So first things first, I put some masking tape right where those holes are gonna end up. This helps avoid the wood from chipping out and splintering when you drill through it. Then I drilled 3 holes on each side, spaced out a couple of inches apart. And as you can see here, the painter's tape really helps stop that chip out from happening. And this is where I decided to get a little creative. Now I have all these little grommets that usually go with my leather. But I thought, the principle's still there. All you do is you hammer it and mushrooms out the other side and it should stick into the wood. I don't see why not. So with that in mind, I pushed the grommets in place through those little holes and then used the required hammer and anvil to secure them into place. And this actually worked out really good, leaving the grommet looking good on one side and neatly inset on the other. I love that kind of thinking out of the box thing and using stuff that you usually earmark for other projects for something else. It's one of those things that actually comes with like understanding the principles of your tools and materials. And once you understand that, you can apply them in a bunch of different ways. Okay, so to transfer those holes exactly onto the leather where I needed them to be, I just laid that piece of wood in place and used an awl to mark where it would go. And then did the same thing, having punched some holes and put those grommets into place. All right, here's where the real creativity comes in. I'm so excited about this part. Now I wanted that board to not only display and hold all of the pieces I need to write with, but also be functional on the fly. The issue with that is to use a quill, you have to dip it in ink. It doesn't come with ink inside of it. So I needed to figure out how to have the ink in such a way that I could still dip it quickly, but not take up a whole bunch of space where that fold over happens, right? And I came up with something I'm really proud of. Basically, I took one of these little foam daubers here and just cut off a big section of the foam. I then took that foam and shoved it into this tiny little bottle I have here. With that all full, it was just a matter of taking an eyedropper full of the ink and putting it inside of that bottle so the sponge will soak it all up. By doing this, I'm able to turn this bottle upside down and not have anything spill out, but still dip that pen and have enough ink to write with. Which not only was really cool, but made me realize that now I can have this bottle in any orientation I want, which opened up a whole bunch of possibilities of how I was gonna put this in place. First things first though, I wanted the cork on there to kind of stay put and be easily taken on and off. To do that, I just passed a needle straight through it with some kind of plasticky thread, then tied it off. I used a plasticky thread because I didn't want it to slowly soak up the ink and drain it on the outside. Once the thread was cut on the inside and melted into place, I took the excess thread on the outside and just wrapped it around the neck of the bottle a few times, tying it off. This way the cork always stays connected to the bottle and is a lot harder for me to lose because I lose everything and it'll happen. Now to actually attach that little bottle to that board, I found this spade bit that was about the same size as that inner neck. Then again with some masking tape to avoid the chip out, I made a hole about 1/8 of an inch in from the side. Then used my razor knife to cut straight lines into that circle. This leaves me with this kind of open U shape here and is just big enough to force fit this little bottle right into place. Now it holds super strong just there by itself, but it's also if I want to, I can pull it back out, replace it, fill it up. I think it's a pretty slick little idea right there. Now to put on the rest of the bits, that's where those little strips I told you about come in place. Basically just making little loops that I secure into place with some rapid rivets, allowing me to slide my quill in and keep it where I need it. Then I also wanted to display those nibs and have those available should I need them. So to make that happen, I first laid down a little strip right where I thought they should go and positioned those nibs so I can kind of get the spacing right. With that, I knew right where it would sit, and I locked in one side of that strip with a rapid rivet. Then I looped it over one of my nibs and used an awl to mark where my holes need to go. Using this method one after another, I was able to make all of my holes and punch the rivets so that everything stays held nice and tight right there. And look at how pretty that display is. I think that looks awesome. Everything's easy to grab right there, and it looks really good. I love that. Now I figured I could use the connections that I'm gonna use to attach that board to the leather to make an actual cradle for where the book is gonna go. Basically, I took those 5-inch straps and I riveted them about 1.5 inches in at the bottom of my board. I then riveted the other side to the back of the rest of the body. This will hold it in place and give it a nice little area to put my book in. Now for that top area where the belt's actually gonna go, all I did was throw some rivets in about every 1.5 inches or so. That locks it into place and also adds a little extra visual something. All right, so the ultimate vision here is that it's gonna be kind of closed up so you see that insignia, and then you can open that up and that's where the pen and stuff lives. So in order to hold that first like flap of leather closed, I figured I'd just take those 4-inch straps and loop them over the piece of wood to where they'll connect to that front panel. These again I just marked so that I could rivet them into place. At the ends of them, I made a little buttonhole to be able to accept a Tom Brown button. And then just added those buttons to the front of that leather panel where those strips will land. Now it can easily close up and hold into place, and then on a moment's notice, flick it open and expose all of the goodies inside. Oh my god, I love that so much, it's so cool. Now for the final little thing to actually like put it all together, I just busted out some of this leather strapping here and fished it through all of those little grommets that I made earlier. Then tying them off on the back. And again, by tying these off and leaving like a little bit extra here, now if I have a bigger book, I can just kind of loosen it up and open that up a little bit more to accept something a bit wider. And look at how dope this thing is. Oh, it fits like perfectly on my belt. And then look at this, it opens up. Oh my god, it's so cool. My book is super accessible, I can just slide it out when I need it. Not only that, but my little inkwell works perfect. Look at all the ink it gets on there. And it's actually super easy to write with. Though I did notice one issue. Once you're done writing with one of those pens, there's still like ink on it, right? So to get around that, I just added a tiny piece of cloth with a push pin so it's easy to change. Now I can simply clean off my nib and slide the quill back into place. Then close the whole thing up and carry on with adventuring. I'm sorry, you can't tell me this thing isn't dope. Like, look at it, look, it opens up real easy like an ha ha ha. That is so cool. And then if he's like at a tavern hearing an interesting story that he can weave into magic, or in the middle of a battle, he just pulls his pen out and he's ready to go. Oh my god, it's so cool. And I think this is gonna go absolutely perfectly with my Call to Arms costume. A special thank you to Bergsteiner for that. It was really nice of them. Again, they're not like sponsoring this episode. It was just really cool and I wanted something to go along with my new costume. I hope you liked this episode and this project. If you did, why don't you give me some of that like it love, and don't forget to subscribe so you know when I release new content. Also, huge thank you to Mistplay for sponsoring this episode and helping us get this thing done. Again, check out their link in the description below and use my code SkillTree30 to get your 30 points. All right, I'm gonna go get ready for Comic-Con. This is my first time going. I'm so excited. I hope I see you guys there. In the meantime, though, keep leveling up, you. You made it to the end screen. YouTube loves it when you do that. It's a fantastic way to support this channel. Another fantastic way to support this channel is by joining these people's noble ranks. These are our Patreon skill monkeys, and we cannot do this without them. Special thanks to our newest high tier level Patreon, James Landry. We love and appreciate all of you for helping us keep this thing going and keeping us in the fun materials so we can make great projects like this. If you like what we do here, consider joining our Patreon, link in the description below. Otherwise, you can click on one of these videos here, and that helps us too. Though all of you who sign up for Patreon end up in my good book. I just realized this could be like a little writing desk right here. It gets better and better. I love this thing so much.